For someone who's never fully played a Five Nights at Freddy's game but enjoyed watching others play it, I had enough knowledge about the game to predict that the movie was going to be terrible. Video game film adaptations have a history of not being the best, but I do appreciate a good horror movie, even though this one was produced by Blumhouse, which made these. So, let's take a look into the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. The main character, Mike, starts as a depressed security guard working in a mall to support his younger sister, Abby. Abby is apparently in a custody battle with their aunt, Jane, who believes that Mike is unfit to raise Abby due to his financial struggles and medication use, which is explained as the story progresses. Within the first few minutes of the movie, Mike mistakenly beats up someone's dad and gets fired from his security job. This leaves Mike to find a new job to support Abby and pay for her babysitter. Mike seeks help from a man named Steve, who offers him a nighttime security job at an abandoned pizzeria called Freddy Fazbear's, or basically an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese. Mike takes the job and sleeps through his shifts throughout the movie by using his meds and, listening to nature sounds. I mean, I would too if I had to work at an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese to pay my rent. Meanwhile, Aunt Jane plots to take Abby away from Mike with the help of the babysitter Mike's paying for. They plan to break into Freddy's and destroy everything to get Mike fired, allowing Aunt Jane to gain custody of Abby. Jeez, Thanksgiving must be nice when Aunt Jane is around. That same night, Mike meets Vanessa, a local cop who's also the most pointless character in the whole movie, but we'll get to that later. Vanessa explains that Freddy's was popular back in the day and tells him that it closed down after 5 children were murdered and went missing during the 80s. And as if the restaurant isn't already creepy enough, but no, let's add murdered missing children to the list of scary things. As Mike and Vanessa talk, we learn more about Mike's background. Years ago, his younger brother was kidnapped while he was out with his family, leading him to feel responsible for the incident. He now experiences nightmares about the kidnapping, which is why he takes medication. After the kidnapping, Mike's mother passed away, and his dad left for unknown reasons, leaving him alone to care for Abby. Let's pause for a second. It's worth noting how complicated the writers made Mike's character, with his brother's kidnapping, his mother's death, his father leaving, his nightmares, and the ongoing custody battle with his aunt. For a movie about a scary Chuck E. Cheese, it could have been written a lot simpler, but let's get back to the story. Later, Abby's babysitter and a few others sneak into Freddy's to vandalize it to get Mike fired from his job. However, their plan doesn't go too well. With Abby's babysitter nowhere to be found, Mike now has to bring Abby to his next shift, and as the night progresses and Mike tries to sleep through his night shift with nature sounds, Abby gets up to use the bathroom. Mike is then awakened by Abby's screams and discovers that she is being tickled. Wait, what? Mike, Abby, and Vanessa, who showed up out of nowhere, end up building a fort with the animatronics and have a cute slumber party together. At some point, Vanessa becomes upset when Abby gets injured by one of the animatronics and warns Mike to never bring Abby again, threatening to shoot him. It would have been better if she had expressed her concerns before they built their cute fort and had a slumber party with the creepy robots. As Mike comes to his 5th night at Freddy's, he has Aunt Jane, who tried to get custody of Abby, watch her for the night since Abby's regular babysitter is still nowhere to be found. It's sweet to see Aunt Jane finally act like a regular aunt. Mike then has the same dream about his brother's kidnapping that we've seen like over 100 times already throughout the movie. The souls of the children who were murdered in the 80s tell Mike that he can stay with his brother forever in exchange for Abby in his dream. Mike eventually declines their offer and wakes up to being attacked by one of the animatronics and then is strapped to a saw-like torture device from which he escapes. Vanessa treats Mike's injuries and reveals that the missing children's souls were inside the animatronics, controlled by her father William, who is also the murderer. Hold on. This is why Vanessa is the most pointless character in the movie. If she already knew all of this was going to happen, she could have stopped it, at least before threatening to shoot someone. Meanwhile, a yellow Freddy animatronic, possessed by the leader of the children's souls, kills Aunt Jane and brings Abby back to the restaurant in a taxi. I mean, it's kind of funny to imagine a giant yellow robot bear and a little girl in a taxi. Anyways, towards the end of the movie, Mike realizes that the animatronic soul things want to kill Abby. He then tries to save Abby and has his final boss moment with the animatronics, but then gets separated from her and gets attacked by an evil cupcake animatronic. Vanessa then comes to Abby's rescue and proves to be useful for once. But suddenly, Vanessa's father appears in a disfigured yellow rabbit suit and reveals that he's Ghostface, Steve, whose real identity is William. Vanessa attempts to stop her murderous father but ends up getting stabbed. Isn't this such a great family get-together? To defeat William, they draw a picture to show the animatronic souls the truth, which releases them from William's control. The animatronics then turn on William, locking him in a back room to slowly rot away with his injuries. And as we reach the end of the movie, Mike and Abby carry a wounded Vanessa out of the restaurant and take her to a hospital. Mike continues to take care of Abby and retains custody of her since their crazy aunt is now dead. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. Yeah, so, the movie's pretty terrible. It could have been a lot better if there were more scary scenes with the animatronics, but throughout the whole movie, the animatronics were pretty much non-existent. Instead, the movie decided to overload us with complicated character setups and dump all of the game's storylines into one movie. This just makes the movie feel very confusing and overwhelming, especially if you never played any of the games before. I mean, the core of the storyline is simply surviving the night shift while being stalked by Chuck E. Cheese robots trying to kill you. Instead, we have animatronics trying to tickle you, a crazy aunt trying to get you fired from your job for no reason, and a plot that goes all over the place but leads nowhere. But if you're a big Five Nights at Freddy's fan, played all the games, and just love the game's lore, you might enjoy it. But if you're someone who just wants to watch a good horror movie like me, unlike this garbage, then I would recommend never watching a Blumhouse movie again. So if you guys enjoyed my first video ever on this channel, please comment below on which horror movies I should make future videos on, and I will see you guys in the next one.